If one day, some soldiers came to your school and asked you to join the army, would you? Well, these guys would. The Yuwachon Tahan was a Thai military youth organization established in 1934 by Field Marshal Black Pibun Songkram, the leader of Thailand at the time. Pibun Songkram and the Thai government saw the turmoil that had plagued Europe, and that had prompted them to start preparing for a possible future conflict involving Thailand. The government's view was that the military already had many reservists but lacked trained officers to command them. As such, the Ministry of Defense was tasked with training school-aged students in all military matters. This would achieve two things. One, it would strengthen the reserve force, and two, it would help fill in the vacancies in the officer corps with enthusiastic young people. All was well and good, but then came 1941, when the fears of the Thai government were realized. On the morning of December 8, 1941, the forces of the Japanese Empire crossed the border into Thailand. They had given the Thais an ultimatum on the night before: allow the Japanese to pass through Thailand or face invasion. After the mere 2 hours that were given to the Thais, the Japanese invaded, having received no response. During the invasion, the military youth, along with their older compatriots, fought with unwavering determination. Their efforts spawned countless stories of heroism, which today is a subject of national pride. One such instance is the landing at Chumpon. At around 2 a.m. in the morning, the Japanese 1st Infantry Battalion of the 143rd Infantry Regiment landed in Chumpon. Because of the heavy rainfall, they couldn't move in for the whole night. It wasn't until dawn when it was dry enough for them to advance further inland. When they arrived at the Chumpon Paknam Street, they were promptly stopped by the numerically inferior Chumpon Provincial Police, who were under the orders of the governor to intercept the Japanese. There were also some armed volunteers involved in the fighting. At this point, the Thai 38th Infantry Battalion of the regular army was stationed too far away from the beaches to resist the initial landing. So, the police and the volunteers were left holding the line on their own, outnumbered at least 100 to 1. At around 7:50 a.m., at the Ta Nang San Bridge, the Thai police were joined by the 52nd Military Youth Unit. This unit was led by Captain Tawin Niyom Sen, its main commander, and Sergeant Samran Khonpan, who acted as his deputy. The unit consisted of 30 volunteers, aged between 14 and 15. They were all students of the Chumpon Provincial School, which is now known as Siap High School today. Upon their arrival, Tawin immediately ordered 3 volunteers to go back and retrieve military supplies at the nearby police station. The rest were to stay and support the police in holding off the invaders. Very shortly after, the Thai 38th Infantry Battalion arrived, but they were sent to defend the Taiyang Temple, which saw the heaviest fighting. It was also a strategic point that would allow the Japanese easy access to government institutions if captured. The original defenders at the bridge, left without reinforcements, held their line. They continued firing upon any Japanese patrol that approached. But there was a problem. The Japanese were holding their line in a coconut field where thick foliage provided them ample cover. It would be a waste of ammunition to continue firing from here, Tawin thought. He wanted a better position across the bridge where he thought they would have better visibility against the Japanese. This, of course, meant that they would come into direct contact with any Japanese patrol across the bridge should they pursue this option. But it was a risk Tawin was willing to take. So, at 9 a.m., Tawin ordered the 52nd Youth to fix bayonets. At 9:30, they charged across the Ta Nang San Bridge, rushing through a hail of bullets. As they reached the other side, Tawin ordered the 52nd Youth to hold position around a ditch. However, as they were about to reach cover, Tawin was hit and instantly dropped into the ditch. A military youth volunteer, Surapan Ratana Ari, who was the nearest person to Tawin at the time, crawled toward him, hoping to provide first aid. To Surapan's horror, it was too late. The captain was hit in the neck. He was gone before he even hit the ground. Surapan then reported the captain's passing to Sergeant Samran, who immediately assumed command of the unit. The 52nd Youth continued fighting along the ditches where they had no better visibility than before. As Supon Pimonsak, a youth volunteer, recounts, "We had moved in to provide support to the police, using the coconut trees as cover. The police were on the east side and we were on the west. We kept on firing even though we couldn't see the enemy and the enemy couldn't see us. So, instead of relying on what we could or couldn't see, we relied on sound. Wherever there was sound, we fired. Occasionally we would hear the enemy cry out in pain. We kept firing until the cries subsided." At one point, a grenade landed at the position. Luckily, the grenade was a dud and nobody was harmed. At 11 AM, Sergeant Samran was hit in the right shoulder. He was in immense pain, but nonetheless continued his duty as the unit commander even while wounded. By that point, the 52nd Youth was running low on ammunition. The 3 members that were sent to retrieve military supplies earlier never returned. They now have to make a decision, to keep fighting or retreat. Yun Hilakanon, the senior-most member among the volunteers, called upon his crewmates to ask this very question. The 52nd Youth came to a unanimous decision: keep fighting until they run out of bullets. Only then will they fall back. At around 12 PM, the 52nd was almost out of ammo. With the Japanese encroaching further upon them, it would seem that the end was near. That was until a convoy of the governor of Chumpon arrived, carrying a white flag. They relayed to the defenders the order they had received from the commander-in-chief, Field Marshal Black Pibun Songkram, to cease any resistance and grant the Japanese passage through Thailand. The battle was over, and Thailand entered into an alliance with Japan. According to Thai sources, the Japanese sustained 500 casualties at Ta Nang San. The Thais had lost Captain Tawin and 5 police officers. 5 other officers and Sergeant Samran were wounded. No military youth volunteers were lost or wounded. However, as miraculous as that sounds, the statistics were not as generous for the youth volunteers fighting elsewhere. Many had sacrificed themselves to resist the invasion. The Japanese were shocked upon finding out that many of the defenders were merely schoolboys and viewed them with the utmost respect. As a recognition for their gallantry, a statue of the military youth was erected in Chumpon, where it remains standing to this day. Shortly after World War II, the military youth was disbanded and replaced by the Territorial Defense Students, which still operates today, and carries on the spirit of the old military youth. It is still popular among young men and women who join the organization as a stepping stone to becoming a commissioned officer, or as a means to be exempt from compulsory military service, which is far more brutal.